Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, fellow humans, compatriots from across the planet, I am Nikhil Parekh. In this video, I shall be talking about my book titled Hide and Seek, Part 1, Rhyming and Non-Rhyming Poems, as well as giving you a recitation of different poems from this book of mine. So friends, let me commence with an introduction to this book of mine about the poetry book. This book, which has 50 differently titled poems, is actually part 1 of the book titled Hide and Seek, Rhyming and Non-Rhyming Poems, 702 pages. Parekh's earliest collection of verse, written in unparalleled fervor. This collection is a delectable blend of topics. From love to death, probing into countless infinitesimal aspects of existence, which make a significant impact to it. The beauty of this compendium lies in its magical brevity at places and in the most mundane things of life around us, brought to the fore like a magician's wand. In brilliant poetic flair by Parekh, contains poems on topics impossible for one to envisage that a poem could be written about such an inconspicuous little thing. Parekh evolves bountiful rhyme from the word go, and coalesces vivacious color in the little tidbits of the chapter called life to optimum effect. A must read for all those who find color, charm, and significance in even the smallest things of life and are enthused by even the most mercurial bit of stray paper loitering around. A poetic tribute to the ordinary, projecting its colorful extraordinary bit to the planet with raw panache. This book tingles every living being's imagination to fantasize beyond the ordinary. Look at all those meaningful tidbits around us which have a complete book written in each one of them. All those joyous and unfortunate anecdotes around us which make us blossom into the true spirit of existence, into the amazing celebration of omnipotent life, So now, ladies and gentlemen, I shall be giving you a recitation of 4 different poems from this book of mine. These different poems are titled as compositions. Urges, drought, and 1,000 feet below the earth. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, at any juncture of victorious existence, you can purchase this book of mine from Amazon.com. So friends, here is a recitation of my poem titled Compositions from this book. The wall of the edifice was composed of contemporary brick. The waters in oceans were composed of gargantuan pinches of salt. Mighty precipices of the mountain were composed of diffused rock and mud. Stolid poles of light on the street were composed of jugglery of iridescent bulb. The airborne butterfly in the sky was composed of a plethora of stripes. The airborne butterfly in the sky was composed of a plethora of stripes. The sand strewn savagely on the road was composed of acrimonious heat. The enchanting island of Moon. The enchanting island of Moon was composed of benevolent warmth. The hunchbacked camel in the desert was composed of hidden resources of water. Swaying tree lumber in the breeze was composed of bountiful lumber. Ravishing dish of tortilla was composed of piquant extracts of chili. Compactly wound timepiece was composed of needle and accuracy. The leather-bound dictionary was composed of infinite words. Filter pipes of cigarette were composed of venomous nicotine. Flamboyant interiors of car were composed of luxury seat and brake. Mouth palate of a dog was composed of sharp canine teeth. Software of a computer was composed of integrated chips. Sleek showers in the bath were composed of spring water. Towering church spires of the city were composed of Christ. Water-clogged lines of the gutter were composed of obnoxious sewage. Slender silhouette of the fountain pen was composed of ink. Innumerable brains of humans were composed of living cells of grey matter. The nocturnal reptile was composed of life-banishing poison. Whilst my heart was composed of magnanimous love for the girl I loved, the ideal woman of my dreams. Whilst my heart was composed of magnanimous love for the girl I loved, the ideal woman of my dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now be giving you a recitation of my poem titled Urges from this book of mine. So here is a recitation of my poem. As the amber ball of sun peeped from white puffs of clouds, as the amber ball of sun peeped from white puffs of clouds, weak and languid beams of light caressed the earth, engulfing pitch dark blackness with faint rays of dawn, prompting abrupt closures of artificial light. There rose sporadic urges in the body to walk past barriers of sleep. As the football of blazing light grew colossal in size, acrid rays of light fell stringently on the ocean, heating suspended dust and concrete tower, illuminating the atmosphere with dazzling sunshine. There arose thunderous urges in the body to start work. As the molten island of fire began sinking behind the mountain, as the molten island of fire began sinking behind the mountain, faded pink currents of light overpowered the day. Cool waves of air descended down the network of roads. Naturally lit multi-floor offices transited to murky grey. There arose hasty urges in the body to return back to the place of dwelling. As the golden web of steam as the golden web of steam finally disappeared from boundaries of vision, overpowering darkness, taking a stranglehold on light. Vehicular traffic now between few and sparse on the carpet of road. Gruesome blackness imprisoning every iota of land and space. There arose an universal need in the body to hide beneath the blanket and sleep. There arose an universal need in the body to hide beneath the blanket and sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now give you a recitation of my poem titled Drought from this book of mine. So here is the recitation of my poem. Hordes of cattle lay lifeless on the streets. Lush green crops had withered in meek submission. Succulent fruits on tree branches had died a gruesome death. A trio of birds had forgotten to chirp their daily rhymes. A trio of birds had forgotten to chirp their daily rhymes. Predecessors of the Ophidian had sunk deep beneath cocoons of soil. Dense foliage of green was now reduced to threadbare strips of brittle brown. Crystal white streams of the mountain had dried in their roots. Mighty perennial rivers could now be sighted as fetid pools of shallow water. Gallons of saline liquid had evaporated from the oceans. Glistening surface of barren rock boiled in tumultuous fury of the sun. Tantalizing mirages loomed large at steaming patches of road. The ground was strewn with sizzling pancakes resting on embers of red coal. Road-tuned island of fuming sun smiled brutally all day. Long wires of cable had started to melt in the heat. Desires for thirst soared to gigantic proportions. Spots of shade were a rare treat to witness in the nerve-wracking heat. Dirty brown lizards swished their tongues viciously in disdain. Levels of mercury reached astronomical heights in the day, with little respite in the abhorrent sultry night. The sky hadn't wept since times immemorial. There was not a droplet of free water available to quench my thirst. It seemed as if God had forgotten to bless the earth with rain. Penalizing millions of humans on earth for their catalogue of misdeeds, with savage strokes to encounter the brunt of drought. Penalizing millions of humans on earth for their catalogue of misdeeds, with savage strokes to encounter the brunt of drought. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now give you a recitation of my poem titled 1,000 Feet Below the Earth from this book of mine. So here is a recitation of my poem. There was wet moisture camouflaging the earth. Condensed slices of soil slept in perennial darkness. Tiny bits of stone lay embedded in loose gravel. Radiating worms weaved their way through tunnels of mud. Reptiles slithered harmlessly past dungeons of darkness. Yellow-crested frogs danced in abundant ponds of water. The sun had never blazed on this part of the world. The sun had never blazed on this part of the world. Sporadic outbursts of moonshine had faded long ago into oblivion. Sporadic outbursts of moonshine had faded long ago into oblivion. Humid pouches of air blew at sedate velocities. Sedate velocities. Entwined roots of tree and grass extruded from the mud. Thin wisps of pungent fertilizer cakes caressed the soil. A plethora of red ant marched boisterously towards their den. Droplets of liquid percolated painstakingly, exhausted from deep journeys of incessant travel. A slurry of black oil and grease lay trapped at several patches. Dead mushroom chunks lay buried for decades in obscurity. There was no adulteration in the mass of clay for millions of kilometers. The soil was as pure as gods bathed in rich cow milk. The soil was as pure as gods bathed in rich cow milk. With nil traces of metal, pesticide, shards of tainted glass, and surplus amounts of crystal water imprisoned in its core, catering to infinite numbers of scorched mouths dying in blistering heat. All this and things more exotic existed. All this and things more exotic existed an approximate 1,000 feet beneath the surface of mud-painted earth. An approximate 1,000 feet beneath the surface of mud-painted earth. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, fellow compatriots, fellow humans from across the earth, it truly was a spectacular privilege for me to have given a recitation of my poetry to your exuberantly gorgeous jurisdiction. From the innermost realm of my soul, I wanted to express my gratitude to you for having so gloriously patronized my poetry. Of course, at any juncture of mesmerizing existence, you can purchase this book of mine from Amazon.com. Thank you for listening to me.